Names have always been an important part of our culture. They're what we use to identify one another, what we do, and who we are. It separates us from other members and gives us a sense of individuality. Names come about for many reasons, and there's almost a meaning behind every name. This is especially important in some cultures and religions, but it's just as prominent in sports as it is in everyday life. The name links the teams you cheer for or hold resentment to. Many teams are just named by corporations as a form of clickbait. You know, catchy name, catchy logo, the big bucks roll in. But others come with more sinister backgrounds, coming from historic tales of fear and murder. Heading on to New Jersey, we are taking a look at the story behind the hockey team named New Jersey Devils. I'm Harry.
And I'm Keegan.
And this is NOTLore.
During the 17th century, a South New Jersey woman who went by the alias Mother of Leeds was pregnant with her child. By this time, Mother Leeds was tired of giving birth to so many children, as she already had 12. In a fit of anger, she cursed the child she was carrying, and on a stormy night in 1735, she went into labor. Her friends gathered around her to witness the miracle of life. They were ecstatic to see the child delivered safely, but to their dismay, the innocent child would quickly develop abnormalities that showed that the child was not ordinary.
There was soon no more resemblance of a human. His legs mirrored that of a goat's with huge hooves. His pure body curved into a grotesque shape mimicking that of a malnourished horse. From his prominent spine sprouted leathery bat-like wings. The spine continued downward into a tail, ending with a sharp three-pronged appendage. Finally, his sinless, halo-bound head converted to that of a ram's, including spiraled horns. The newly transformed demon growled and screamed at his petrified audience. His tail slashed easily through the helpless victims, and within moments, bloodshed covered every corner of the room, and from the chimney of the home shot out the newly formed Jersey Devil.
This frightening tale pierced fear into the hearts of many locals for centuries. Reported sightings of such creature date all the way back to 1812 and well up to the 21st century. The creature lurks around the Pine Barrens, a large, thick forested area in the south of New Jersey, where it hunts on unsuspecting wildlife. The sighting of 1812 sparked quite the wildfire. Discovered by Napoleon Bonaparte's older brother, Joseph, whilst out hunting in the deep forest. After the headline made the paper, other town folks began to bring forward new information to the table, including hoof prints, animal attacks, and other eyewitness accounts. The early 1900s was when the New Jersey Devil made a name for itself in modern culture. Beginning in 1909, dubbed the Devil Craze of 1909, almost 1,000 alleged sightings were reported throughout New Jersey. The famous story of Navy Commander Stephen Decatur picked up whilst testing cannonballs at the Hannon Mills Works within the Pine Barrens. He spotted a mysterious creature that could not be identified due to its uncanny shape. Hoping to use it as target practice, Decatur fired a cannon that put a perfect cannon-shaped hole into the figure. Chunks of flesh and blood fell to the ground around it. However, the creature still stood unfazed despite being shot. Strange footprints were discovered later that day, and curiously enough, bloodhounds released to find the creature refused to follow the tracks. Despite all the eyewitness accounts leading to paranormal conclusions, is there a logical answer for the famed demon?
Speaking of demons, have you heard of today's sponsor? Raid: Shadow Legends. Raid is a turn-based RPG done right. In case you've been living under a rock and haven't heard, Raid is an epic mobile game that changes everything. The game is crazy popular right now, with almost 15 million downloads in the last 6 months. Raid is a dark fantasy done right. A hero collecting turn-based game with over 400 champions to collect and customize. In Raid, you can get knights, orcs, undead, and you guessed it, demons too, as well as many more. Raid with friends in a clan, claim glory in the PvP arena. They also have weekly tournaments and events, such as fighting in the arena, running special dungeons, and leveling up your heroes. There's almost always a way to compete and win extra prizes every week. The game is growing super fast. They actually have huge plans for updates over the next 6 months. Start your journey today. Download Raid Shadow Legends on your mobile app store. Use code NOTLore today for your gift of 50k silver and an epic hero card. Thanks again to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this episode.
An actual sponsor. Do not try this. Some side effects may include death. It's kind of hard to make logic out of a goat, horse, bat-winged demon baby child, isn't it? But the human mind has always been imaginative. The original tale is just that, a figment of someone's imagination. But even imagination holds some truth. The Leeds family was real, being European settlers during the colonial era. The family was part of the group called the Religious Society of Friends, a very powerful and influential religious group at the time. Though the name may suggest friendly church with Sunday church services and old ladies, it was very different. Followers of this group, called Quakers, constantly fought among themselves in a mental battle of beliefs and opinions. Topics varied every meeting, which came with varied opinions.
Head of the Leeds family, Daniel Leeds, headbutted against many Quakers with his differing opinions. He, however, was a very hard-headed and outgoing man, thinking that his knowledge was the obvious truth. This reached a boiling point when Mr. Leeds published an almanac that did not sit well with the group's beliefs. In his almanac, he tried to link astrology to the movement of the heavens, going against Quaker theology. Causing an uproar within the society, Mr. Leeds was forced to apologize, but he knew at this point that his ideas were not welcome in the Religious Society of Friends, and left the group to continue his research. He later published a book titled Temple of Wisdom, which laid out his beliefs about angels, natural magic, astrology, the behavior of devils, and using astrology to gain a deeper understanding of God's messages.
At this point, the Quakers no longer saw Mr. Leeds as a fellow Christian brethren, but more of an occultist. They immediately suppressed Mr. Leeds' book, which did not bode well with him. He began writing more articles and books trashing the Quakers. Many anti-Quaker drafts were published, and anti-Leeds letters were written in response. Both sides argued the same thing. They strayed too far from the divinity of Christ and misunderstood God's teachings, picturing each other as Satan worshippers. Going back, the Religious Society of Friends was powerful. The name of a satanic worshipper in the Leeds family spread around. His family crest bears an eerie resemblance to the picture now known as the Jersey Devil. Gossip spread around town, and further relations of his works to blasphemy began honing in on Mr. Leeds. The Leeds family lost ground. Some said he allegedly married to a witch who taught him such blasphemous beliefs. Others mentioned that it was a satanic ritual. Regardless, the infamous New Jersey Devil was born, whether on that unholy night or just through the murmurs of townspeople. It seemed the Leeds name started to hold a more sinister, black magic meaning.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of NOTLore. Check out our other episodes at notlorepodcast.com. That's notlorepodcast.com. I'd like to give a huge shout out for Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's episode. This episode wouldn't be possible without them. Once again, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for your weekly dose of folklore, and we hope to have you again for our next episode. I'm Harry.
And I'm Keegan.
And this is NOTLore.